Hello everyone, my name is Chaos in the Sky, and welcome to Week 3 of the Power Rankings for the Battle Union. We're a little late, but we do have them. They are still going on. Shroom, how's it going?
It's going pretty well, thanks, Chaos. Hello, everyone. Yep, Shroom River here with Chaos for the Week 3 Power Rankings. Some really interesting games, some big scorelines, and some close ones. With a couple of new faces, we should very briefly say a couple of new coaches in. We've got King L5 in for Kelly and Rizzy Pow in for Eric. They're taking over their teams for the remainder of the season.
Indeed. We're also going to have another switch next week, but for this week, in case you watched the update video and wondering, Quill is still playing for Week 3. Week 4 is when he's replaced. So
yes,
he is on the Power Rankings for this week.
That's true. That's true. And speaking of those Power Rankings, shall we crack right on with them?
Yes, really quickly, though, I would like to say, having taken over as admin and all that, been a really busy week for me as well as midterms and whatnot. I've only watched a handful of the matches, but as usual, Shroom is picking up my slack. So at least
I'm there. I've got your back.
Yeah, at least one of us knows what's going on. But
yes.
Please, Shroom, take it away.
Now, unfortunately, in at number 16 we do have Cloud, and whilst Chaos has just said that I've watched all the battles, this one, unfortunately, there was no uploads so far. So we haven't been able to actually sort of see that battle, unfortunately. Clouds took the 5-0 loss. It looked, from what I could see, like a lot of bulk on his side versus a lot of wall breakers, and he just lost that matchup. We saw Amberpon with 1 KO, but not too much really to go on until we've had a chance to see the battle. But yeah, it's a tough loss for Clouds. He remains at the bottom of the power rankings. Hopefully he'll be able to sort of get back on track with his team in the future.
Hopefully. Man, you said that a lot better and more professionally than I expected you to. I don't know how to respond.
I have occasional moments where I sort of sound like I know what I'm doing.
All right, let's move on to number 15 in the Super Shroom list because he did most of the work this week, where we have King L5. Who did he take over for?
He took over from Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly.
He took over from Kelly. He, as I say, he lost 3-0, unfortunately for him, to Bub. Some of the team decisions, weird one. No Electric Immunity versus a team with Thunderous Therian is ballsy at best, and incredibly riskily reckless at worst. But he had some. Sorry, go on.
I just realized this is one of the 3 matches I watched.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's good. Making headway, making progress.
Please continue.
I liked a lot of his builds though. He had some very specific builds. In order to take very specific hits. You know, you've got this Gothitelle that's built to take a Draco after Stealth Rocks and Mirror Coat back. You've got very specific Tapu Fini investments to take as many hits as possible whilst speed creeping. So intelligent building, I liked that a lot. When it came to the battle, I don't think that L5 was making bad plays. I don't think he was playing badly, but it just seemed like he spent a lot of the first half just getting predicted. Bub seemed to be in his head for a lot of that first half. Now, he did manage to drag himself back into it. He did really well to stall out Trick Room on a very threatening Calm Minds Magiurna set, but in doing so, he did lose a couple of mons. It was damage limitation, and it was actually done pretty well. But in the end game, he just didn't quite have enough to take on the Mega Absol. He lost to Sucker Punch Mind Games, even though I should say he played it properly. He played for his opponent to click Sucker Punch 8 times, which you're supposed to do, and Bub did not.
I do agree that when you're faced with Sucker Punch, it's usually best. Normally, the way I see it, you press Dragon Dance or setup move, whatever it is, for 7 turns, and then you have to take a 50-50 on the 8th one. But I definitely would not have predicted the Sucker Punch to stop on the 3rd one. That doesn't add up to me. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, it was a tough loss, but it's his first matchup in the PPL. This isn't. I'm sorry, terribly sorry. TBU.
Shroom, stop revealing my future plans now that I'm the admin.
Gosh darn it, my bad. But yeah, it's a tough loss for his first match in the Battle Union, but still finding his feet with a team that he didn't draft. So hopefully he'll be able to come back from it.
PPL Division 3 will rise. I mean, what? Nay? I don't have a whole lot to say on the match when it comes to L5 because I actually watched from Bub's perspective through that beautiful Citra or whatever it's called that people are using nowadays. Like I don't know where that came from, but it is gorgeous. I love it.
It is.
But anyways, yeah, I mean, it was a good match, all things considered. I saw the Gengar get hit by Hidden Power Ground and got really confused until I remembered its debuff this gen. It's, like,
Yes,
really unfortunate for Gengar.
it is. It is.
But anyways,
But
we can...
it's still a good mon.
Yeah, it's still a good mon, definitely. Offensive Ghost is almost always good. But
Yeah.
we can move on to 14th now, which features Skyrander, and also known as Fulfirander, where Shroom will tell us exactly what went down in this horrific nightmare of a battle.
Yeah, absolutely. Sky managed to take a 2-0 win over Quill in Quill's final game of this season. He brought a special T-Tar and all the Sand Rush, all of it, all of the Sand Rush. You've got Excadrill there, and you've got Fulf, of course, the Stoutland. It was nice to see. It's good to see Skyrander's thought process. He'll put a paste bin in the in the description of his videos, and he was considering like 2 or 3 different movesets and EV options for like several mons. And it's nice to see his thought process going to that sort of personal note. Sky, big fan of that. In the battle, good job of taking out answers to Sand early. You know, he got big damage early on what I think was possibly a Fortress, if I'm not horribly mistaken. I'm going to check that very, very quickly.
This is
Yes,
not one of the
it
3.
was.
This is not one of the 3 I watched, so I am of no help to you here.
No, yeah, he got good early damage and actually early taking out of the Fortress, which could be a nice stop to Excadrill in certain circumstances. So he took out Answer to Sand early, and he kept his Sand Setter around very well. You know, he was faced with a quite threatening Manaphy, and he made very intelligent sack plays. He knew that he couldn't let Manaphy keep a sub up, so instead of sacking something at lower health like his Boswell, he stayed in to sack the Gardevoir, I think it was. Just to make sure he knew that Manaphy couldn't stay behind a sub, he couldn't let him keep that sub up. He sacked very efficiently. It got a bit hairy at the end with some nice ideas from Quill with Tailwind and Rain Dance, but once again, Sky got the T-Tar sack play very right, and then Quill got Fulfed.
I would like to point out that as we do these videos, I read the win-victory things, what mons were brought and all that we have in the TBU sheet so people can see the scores for each week. And for Sky versus Quill, it does have Terrakion, 1 death, Fortress, 1 death, and then Thunderous Eye, Manaphy, Talonflame, and Garchomp, instead of 1 death, I'll say Fulfed.
Yeah, that he did get Fulfed in this one.
Yeah, he got absolutely Fulfed.
Yes, Stoutland absolutely coming through, so a well-played game by Sky in all manners, I think.
It's always a good day when you can Fulf someone.
Yes, I would agree.
It's one of my new favorite verbs. Anyways, let's move on to 13th place, which features our admin coach, Mr. Potato Jim.
Yes, Jim taking a really useful 4-0 win here over Paul. Now, Jim hasn't moved in the rankings, and this is just because of how things happened this week with some weird positioning of wins and losses. But he is looking to be in the ascendancy. We've moved from one Spicy Doggo in Fulf to another Spicy Doggo in Spicy Doggo, the Entei. Nice Flame Charge set. He's getting the best out of Celesteela with his weird sets, and all the EVs on Mega Gyarados. I think every stat had EVs except Special Attack. Within the game, we see Jim ballsy turn 1 setup. You know, Rabombi set up turn 1 is what he was looking for. And it doesn't work out for him because Rabombi takes a lot of damage and Mantine kind of just sits there and does Mantine things. But then, big boy playtime from from Jim. Sorry?
I actually watched this match, and
Oh, yes.
I can't remember exactly the chronology of it, but I do specifically remember the Latias bluffing Thunderbolt, despite not having Thunderbolt, and Jirachi coming in to just get absolutely destroyed by Never-Ending Nightmare, which I believe was a Z move utilizing Shadow Ball. Probably.
It was.
It brought Jirachi down to like basically
7
dead.
HP.
Yeah, it was
Or
absolutely
9 or
beautiful. This was actually, I watched Jim's perspective, and then I went and watched Paul's perspective to see what he said when he got Never-Ending Nightmare. Unfortunately, he doesn't live com, but that would have been beautiful.
That would have been amazing to hear it live, but that was a big boy play from Jim.
Yeah, he played really
and
well.
he pulled it out.
Yeah, he played really well with the Latias. He bluffed that Thunderbolt very effectively, and it paid off in dividends.
It did. For the rest of the game, Jim was just kind of just making solid plays. it was weird. It was a kind of role reversal from Paul's previous games. We'll come on to it in a bit, but yeah, Jim was just kind of making solid plays and reacting to Paul very well. He did get the cheekiest of flinches late game, stopping Mantine from stalling everything out. But it's a really nice, solid win for Jim. He'll be really happy with this. A big 4-0.
It was a very good match. I watched Jim's perspective, and he was actually like playing a person like Paul, exactly how you should play a person like Paul. You think, what's the prediction Paul's going to make on me, and then predict that prediction, which is what he did a handful of times. It didn't work out every single time in the game, I believe, but multiple times, like with Latias, it's like Jim or Paul. I specifically remember Jim saying, "Paul's not going to think that Paul's going to think I have Thunderbolt. There's no way, so I go for Psyshock or I go for Never-Ending Nightmare, etc." And you just did, he played well.
He did. A good win for him. And with that, we'll move on to number 12 in the list, and that is going to be Rizzy Pow. As we said, taking over for Eric, taking a 1-0 win in his first game over Ethan. Riz wanted nicknames. I have come up with the nicknames for him. Do not worry. There will be better nicknames next week. What have we got here? Perish Trap, Water Absorb, Refresh, Politoad.
Nah.
He comes in, takes over a rain team, and brings Politoad without rain.
Absolutely wonderful.
Really enjoyed it. And ballsily enough, he brings Politoad without rain against a team with Torkoal that has sun. He didn't even bring it as a counter. He just brings Perish Song, Whirlpool, trapping Politoad with Refresh in case it gets statused. Hats off. Love it. Unfortunately, Politoad did nothing, and it gave me a sad.
It gave you a sad.
It gave me a sad. It gave me a fairly sizable sad. But, you know, Riz, he had a game plan here, and he stuck to it, you know, knows that Electivire is very much a win condition, and he knows that he needs to wear down Meloetta in order for that to happen, and early on, he does a very good job of wearing down Meloetta, knowing that he has to isolate it and try and take it out, and he did very well with that. He brought Decidueye. He might as well have not brought Decidueye. I've actually written here, you Decidu tried.
You better hurry up and end this one before I, turn off the video.
Chaos, I was pausing for applause.
No applause. Finish. Listen, I'm about to move us on to 11. You've got, less than a minute to finish.
Fair enough. Well, basically, yeah, Riz had Electivire saved until the end, and it could just keep coming in and pressuring and pressuring and pressuring. And while Nidoking took most of the KOs, Electivire was possibly even more of an MVP, just for the amount of pressure it put on. Every time it came in, something was going to take too much damage for Ethan to come back from.
I believe it was also Scarfed, if I'm not mistaken, so did it outspeed his entire team?
I believe so, yes.
I'm fairly certain it did. I don't think Ethan had a Scarfer, and I'm pretty sure Electivire outspeeds Raikou even at max speed.
Yeah. No, Raikou's base 115.
Does it not... With the Scarf, does it not outspeed?
Oh, with the Scarf it does, yes.
Yeah, I was about to say, with the Scarf it still outspeeds. Obviously, it would never outspeed a Raikou otherwise, because Electivire is base 80 or something. That's why it's such a...
very good.
That's why
very good use.
Yeah, that's why it's such a good Scarfer. But if you're done, we can move on to number 11.
Yeah, and it'll be a quick one because number 11 is going to be Dokes. Dokes taking that big 5-0 win over Cloud. Again, no battle for us to have watched with this, but as I said about with Cloud, it just looked like Cloud brought very bulky stuff, and Dokes just brought the wall breakers. He brought the pain. You know, Mamoswine, Diggersby, Vikavolt. These things hit really hard, and from what I can see, he's brought 3 ground types to try and probably deal with a Steelix that could be a problem for Tapu Koko, and then just go in and destroy with Tapu Koko, and that looks like what happens. Koko with 4 kills, looking really good on the MVP list, and yeah, a big win for Dokes. And aside from anything else, he brought Camerupt. I like it.
That about covers it. We don't know enough about this game to really go in depth, but we can only make broad assumptions.
Yeah, but it looked like a fairly sort of commanding win for Dokes, so well played to him.
Now we can move on to number 10. Sly is finally where he belongs, in the bottom half of the sheet. The season... Has Sly ever moved up, or has he just moved down every week?
No, he has continued to move down. The unfortunate season continues for Sly. It's not going well so far.
Oh, Syro.
It is not going well. He brings Wobbuffet off the bench, which I was excited for. Always nice to see Wobbuffet
Did it do
trying to
something?
do things. No.
Ah,
Um, I mean, for one thing, it wasn't brought max defense, max special defense, which I feel like it should be. You don't need to invest in HP on Wobbuffet. It's got 7 million HP. And really it's actually got very poor defenses. It relies on that HP to tank the hits and get off those counters and mirror coats. Interesting sets though. Mono attacking gunk shot dual status Drudigan. I mean, yep, fair play. Not bad at all. I was surprised to see no air balloon Lucario. His opponent has a Doug trio. And the only things that aren't trapped by it are Wobbuffet, on the basis of trappers not being able to trap trappers, and Landorus Incarnate. Only things that aren't trapped by it. So I was surprised not to see that. But offensive Clefable, nice. Now in the battle, he made a big point of saying he wanted rocks up early. He made a big point about it. His opponent's only method of removal is Dragonite, and he didn't do it. He prioritized neutering the Weavile by paralyzing it, but then just sacked Drudigan off, basically. And it came back to bite him because of the Cleric Dragonite that we'll come on to in a bit. We saw a flawless lesson in how not to use Wobbuffet. Sly owned that. He saw that he should have reversed the order of his moves, and fair play to him for noticing it. Hopefully we'll see a bit more use out of Wobbuffet at another time. And it seemed that Sly was really desperate to set up when he shouldn't have done. You've seen Clefable looking to destroy things with the offensive set, but it chooses not to 2-hit KO Lantern. It comes back to bite him. He tries to set up later again. It comes back to bite him. Basically, I just think he used a few mons badly, which he knows, and he was surprised by some pretty useful sets on his opponent's side, which we'll get onto sort of later. So it continues to go badly for Sly, but with 3 games down, hopefully he can pick himself back up.
maybe he can do a reverse Eric, where he
Yes.
loses all the matches at the start and then just wins all of the back half.
Absolutely, I think, and yes, Eric's team has been taken over, so we don't have someone who can do anything like that. So maybe this is Sly's moment.
Number 9, we have Sheer Force. tell us about that one, Shroom.
Yeah, Sheer Force taking the close 1-0 loss to our last week's number 1 in the power rankings, that being Leo.
Wait a minute,
Yeah,
is,
a close.
Is Sheer Force's
Sorry?
name Trevor?
Sheer Force's name is apparently Trevor.
I didn't know. I saw Lee versus Trevor, and I thought it was Trev, and then I was thinking, wait a minute, Trev takes over for Quill next week. What's going on?
It's all very confusing.
This is
really.
not no. I'm reading it. His name is Sheer Force. I'm changing this. Now I understand. This is also one of the matches I watched, and I actually watched it from his perspective. It was a very good match.
It was a really good match. I was worried because I think his team in total only has 2 psychic resists, and he's facing off against a Necrozma, which is dangerous. He brings the Victini to resist that. Early on, we see sort of safe early plays, making sure he can keep rocks away. He does get unfortunate. Golbat gets frozen very early in the game. And I think we've seen this before, where losing his spinner before the rock setter is gone, which is never ideal. Now, he said actually in his narration he didn't realize how important Galvantula could be for him, and Galvantula was putting in work, but by dint of not realizing at the time how important it could be and how much work it could put in, he was playing so riskily with it. But it seemed to work out okay. Galvantula was a bit of a thorn in Leo's side for a little bit. Now, thing you should know about Sheer Force, he hasn't completed the game.
Oh my goodness!
He doesn't have his Mega Bracelet.
I don't understand how this happens. I don't think Sly has beaten the game yet either, unless he did it in the past 2 weeks. Because I was in a call with him 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he was saying yeah, I still haven't beaten the game, and I'm like, Sly, you're ridiculous. You're in a league. This doesn't. It legitimately does not compute to me. I don't understand how these people have not finished the game. It's been out for 4 months about now.
Yeah, it was unfortunate because he has a Mega Aerodactyl, and that could have put in a bit of work if he'd been able to Mega up. I thought he could have actually gone into it a bit earlier to Hone Claws on the Infinite. That was before I realised he didn't have the Mega Bracelet, so it might not have worked. It was unfortunate for Sheer Force. He doubted himself a little bit in team building, and this is something it's never advisable to do. He wanted to bring apparently Choice Banded Victini, and from what it looks like, he would have won if he'd have brought Choice Banded Victini. As it was, he got messed up a little bit by Trick Room, I believe, and he had Scarfed Victini, I think, instead. And the speed tiers didn't match up for him, and unfortunately he takes the close 1-0 loss to an admittedly very talented player. It was a good game, and he got a bit unlucky, but yeah, you take the good with the bad, and he still played well, and it's only a small loss of 1-0. Yeah, good stuff all around.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. It was a really good match.
Very much
honestly,
so.
I was almost rooting for Sheerforce until I realized his Aerodactyl could not Mega Evolve. And
Yeah,
then
that needs to be fixed as soon as possible.
and then I decided that he deserves everything that's coming to him. I went and put in the announcement chat immediately after watching this video saying, you know, the mid-season break is coming up. If any of you have not completed your game of Sun and Moon, do so now. Like, get that done and out of the way. Get your Z crystals and stuff. Because this is... Apparently I'm going to have to make a rule for Season 5 that you have to have a completed version of Sun and Moon. I didn't think that would ever be something that needed to be addressed, but apparently I was incorrect.
Well, hopefully he will be able to in the not-too-distant future. But with that, I think we are going to move on to number 8, I believe, on our list right now.
And the top half.
That is going to be Quill, taking that 2-0 loss to Skyrander. Yeah, looking at this battle, letting Fori take so much damage and go down so early versus physical sand offense, not possibly the best of ideas. But he did have some really nice moments in this game. He managed to really wrestle himself back some good momentum after that start. Offensive switches like into Buzzwole on a Terrakion to get back that momentum, seeing that it was scarfed, knowing that there was nothing he could do at that time against the Buzzwole. Against the Terrakion. The Buzzwole, he had some really nice prep for as well, knowing that his Talonflame could potentially be a switch into Buzzwole. He brings Flame Body and gets the burn on Buzzwole. So
that
nice
is
prep.
True skill right there.
I enjoyed it.
That is how we play Pokemon.
It is. That was really nice prep on his part, knowing that situation could arise and neutering the Buzzwole for it. He took his opportunity well with Manaphy. It was just unfortunate, actually, that Sky just played around it very well, as we mentioned earlier with the sack plays. So he looked to have taken his opportunity well, but it didn't quite work out. It was an unfortunate high roll versus the Garchomp, which set him back a bit. And as I say, it wasn't looking good for Quill at the end game, but he pulls out these sudden moments. You know, he's got a scarfed Talonflame. Not only does it have Flame Body, it has Tailwind, knowing that he needs to avoid that sand sweep. So he has the Tailwind on the scarfed Talonflame, and he has the Prankster Rain Dance on the Thundurus to desperately try and counteract it late game. Unfortunately, Skyrander just had too many mons left for Thundurus to deal with on its own. One of those being the Tyranitar. He could easily just switch out, sack something, bring the Tyranitar back in, get the sand up, and go from there. So there was some really nice bright moments from Quill here. He just lost, unfortunately, to some really heavy sand offense.
That's the way it goes. I mean, there's no stopping the Fulf sometimes. Sometimes you just
yeah.
Sometimes you see Fulf hit the ground and there's like sand all around you, and you just quietly lay back into your tomb and say, "This is my fate.
This is the life I have chosen."
Yeah, I accept my fate. This is where it has to be.
The death.
Yeah, this is the death I've chosen. This is my fate, and I am okay with that. I have been chosen to be Fulfed, and there's nothing that can be done.
It's an honor, if anything, to be Fulfed.
Really, yeah. Like, Fulf gets out and it, like, puts on the Pharaoh headdress, and it's just like, I am your king now, and this is your end.
Pretty much. But yeah, with that, I guess we could probably move on to number 7. Number 7, we have Jack, Wolverhampton Weavils, taking another close 1-0 loss this week. That was to Kyle. We had the Battle of Megazard Y versus Megazard X, and Jack brings physical Dragon Dance Zard Y to try and do better versus Zard X. Nice. Some of his other sets, the one I really want to single out, Primarina, he's got that Tapu Bulu, and he knows that Megazard X is a problem. And Kyle was saying in his that even under most conditions, even physically defensive, Primarina can be 2-hit KO'd by Zard X. Now, Jack clearly knows this, and he brings Grassy Seed Primarina, which is really, really good. I really liked that.
Wait a minute, wait a minute,
Because
wait a minute. What does that move do?
Grassy Seed is the item.
Oh,
It's a
it's a
hold
move.
item that
Or
doesn't
an
get
item, I mean.
used up. It doesn't get used up, and every time you bring in a Pokemon with a Grassy Seed into grassy terrain, it raises their defense.
And it doesn't get used? It doesn't get
Doesn't get
consumed?
used up, doesn't get consumed.
Wow,
Really,
that's gotta be
really
Gen
good
7,
threat.
right?
Yeah, it is.
I thought
That's the
so, because
first
I
time I've
hadn't heard of
seen a
it.
seed used in League.
Are there multiple
So
seeds?
yeah, there's one for each terrain,
That's actually, like, really cool.
and they raise different stats. I think two raise defenses and two raise offenses, but this one was just perfect. You know, knowing that Primarina needs to try and tank 2 hits from Zardex, and this is pretty much the only way it could be done. So absolute props to Jack. That was really good. I
That
really
is...
enjoyed it.
I'm honestly impressed.
Yeah,
That is really good.
very impressive.
Good work.
Very impressive forethought from Jack. He played cautiously early with Zard versus Breloom. Very wise. I expect he thought that Breloom was Sash lead. It wasn't. It was Scarfed. So he would have just dropped. He played well with Primarina, hoping to catch out Ferrothorn. You know, what he was doing was expecting Protect on Ferrothorn, so he goes for, I think, the Scald, pretending to look for the Burn, and then goes for the HP Fire next time, knowing the Protect would come. Unfortunately, whilst he thought he was probably 2 steps ahead, Kyle was a step ahead of that and was scouting well. You know, there was a lot of doubles going on in this game. It was a bit sort of tense at points. But Jack's back was to the wall, and he needed to make ballsy switches around Zardex, and he did. But what we saw was him kind of rapidly losing methods to deal with Ferrothorn. But he realised this again. He was biding his time and waiting for the moment to strike against the Ferrothorn. He finally does, launches an all-out pummeling from Sizz, and he gets back massive momentum. His surprise Y set looked to do work, but Kyle was able to salvage it, basically using Licky Licky and Crobat to get recoil on the Zard Y to take it out. It was unfortunate at the end, you know. It was, I think, a 2-on-1 situation, but Zydoge was locked into Outrage, and confusion turns happened. They did, and that allowed setup with his opponent, and that saw Jack take the very close 1-0 loss. But some really good plays and some really nice team building from Jack. I was impressed with Jack this week, more so than usual.
I was really hoping you would end that with "for the first time," because that's how I would have said it. But of course,
not at all.
You're the good cop and I'm the bad cop, so we obviously have different mindsets going into how we say words about people. Anyways, we can move on. We're actually making really good time for the first time in our lives. We're not even at half an hour yet, and we've got like 6 people to go. Let's move on to number 6, speaking of 6 people to go, which is Bub.
Yes, Bub taking the 3-0 win this week over newcomer King L5. It was the Battle of the Kings, King L5 versus King Bub.
Who gave them these king titles? Do they like have proper documentation for their kingdom?
I think we will have to ask them. And if they don't, there will be penalties to be paid.
Yeah, they're definitely going to get penalized if they can't show documents of proof. But anyways, please continue.
Absolutely. Yeah, Bub, some nice sets again on his side. Curse Miltank with Breakneck Blitz. It had, I think it was Rest Talk. Was it Rest Talk Curse? I think. And
what mon was it?
Miltank.
Miltank? I don't think it came into play, so I can't remember. Miltank. No,
Miltank. It didn't come into play too much.
Miltank was bulk up body slam, and I don't know what the other 2 moves were.
Well, I know he was mono attacking, I think, with Breakneck Blitz.
Was he?
Because he didn't want to be tricked by the Gothitelle and set up on. So he had the
this week.
Who was bulk up?
Someone used
I'm not sure.
bulk up this week. I could have sworn it was Miltank. I'm getting my matches mixed up. Anyways,
I think you are.
Go ahead.
I think
and
you are.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I liked that Curse Tank set. Then we see Trick Room Carmine Magierna. That's cool, people. In the battle, there was this really nice passage of play between the two. These fantastic Gothitelle mind games with both coaches trying to think 3 steps ahead of the other one. So what we have is Bub with a Shed Shell Toxapex.
That was wonderful.
That was wonderful, but here's the thing. He predicts his opponent to know that he's brought that. Because, of course, why wouldn't you? You know, you've got a Toxapex, your opponent's got a Gothitelle. It's perfect setup for it. So he predicts his opponent to know he's got it. And therefore thinks his opponent's going to think he's going to switch into Absol on the Gothitelle
Oh, the
to
signal
take Stab. So he then predicts his opponent predicting that to go for Signal Beam, so he makes the offensive switch into Thunderous and gets himself the momentum.
That
It just
was
brilliant.
I didn't know what to do during that turn. I had to pause the video. That was so well done. Bub made some
It
really
was.
good plays this match, and then made some unnecessary ones at the end of the game, which he himself
Yeah.
acknowledged. Like, I think he accidentally sacked both Miltank and Latios for pretty much no reason without meaning to.
Yeah,
But
that's absolutely right. And it was after some good plays. You know, those Mind Games versus Gothitelle were brilliant, actually from both coaches in that instance. And then he reads the Mirror Coat on the Volt Switch and makes another offensive switch, going into, I believe, the Mega Absol to take that. Thunderous causing all sorts of problems, as we thought it would against a team with no electric immunities. Magiona gets a nice cameo, and as you say, he does lose a bit of differential towards the end, but he does win those Sucker Punch Mind Games, even though, Bub, you did not follow the rule of 8. You clicked Sucker Punch 8 times. Now, it may have worked out for you this time, but bear in mind you did play that incorrectly.
yeah, just listen. This in the world of Pokemon, just because it worked for you doesn't mean what you did was right.
Yes, absolutely. It's true, but yeah, a good game from Bub. Some really nice stuff from him there, and with that, I think we can move on to number 5. We're entering the top 5, and we have Alex Onesie Baynet taking the 2-0 victory over Slyro. He didn't bring Doug Trio, and I was surprised, very much so. I think I'd have thought he would have brought Doug Trio. You know, his opponent has Lucario. It'd be nice to revenge it. What he did bring was Blossom, and I was really excited when I saw Blossom. Really excited indeed. Now, turn 1, it looked like Alex was getting into that rut again. Turn 1, he overpredicts versus Drudigan. Goes not for Ice, but for knockoff. It wouldn't have mattered, actually, because his opponent was sashed. But he allows his Weavile to get powered turn 1, and I was thinking, oh no, this doesn't look good. And then the direct switch into Tapu Lele for Weavile on a Lucario. Like, I guess he's predicting Mach Punch or Vacuum Wave, but that's still a huge risk because Lucario just goes straight for Flash Cannon and Tapu Lele nearly gets plopped. And I was worried for Alex at this point, but he then takes advantage of Sly being greedy with Clefable to get a kill with Blossom.
I want to throw up as soon as you even mention it.
I know, right? But then, you know, he makes a ballsy play to stay in with P2 versus Lucario. It pays off. He gets a T-Wave off as Lucario goes full nasty plot. And then a bit later, you know, Sly kept trying to set up, and then Alex takes advantage of Sly being greedy with Lucario to get a kill with Blossom. Again. Blossom got 2 kills this game. Blossom got 2 kills this game.
End the segment, Shroom, and move on to number 4. I'm not taking your bait.
The final bit I was going to say is another one of sort of the heat sets from Alex. Heal Bell Dragonite. It was brilliant because you know how I was saying I was worried at the beginning about Weavile getting powered? He has Heal Bell Dragonite of all things. No multi-scale on there. He's brought it as a cleric. And that means he has Weavile unpowered at the end, makes the manly play with Weavile to catch Slowking on the switch, and he wrestles it around in his favour and takes the 2-0 win. It was really nice building actually from Alex. It looked hairy to begin with, but he dragged it back very nicely indeed.
Yeah, I mean, he did really well in pulling it back. I mean, it's not that hard
Yeah.
when you're up against Maximum Disappointment Overdrive himself. But, you know.
It's true. But to take nothing away from Alex, it was a well-played game and some really intelligent building.
To take everything away from Alex, he was playing against Slyro. I love it. Anyways.
But yeah, with that, to move on to number 4.
Yeah, let's move on to number 4.
We have number 4, Ethan. Even though he did take the 1-0 loss, he's still looking strong this season. Ethan takes the 1-0 loss. Still, let's take a look at some of these sets. Physical Raikou with Z-Dig. That's a thing. It's a thing indeed. Wild Charge, Dig, Extreme Speed, I believe, and another move, Crunch. Unfortunately, because he wanted to run Extreme Speed, he had to run a Rash Nature, so he couldn't get the most out of that physical attack, which is unfortunate, but it didn't really come into play too much. Basically, it was his only proper answer to Electivire. So that was cool. I was a bit worried that his Rain Check was Torkoal, but he also brought 2 Steel types. So I was worried that the Sun might be used against him, and one of those Steel types more well, Mono Fire Fang versus Rain. Like, I get that it's baton passing stats, and that his opponent has a Mega Sizzle, but Mono Firefang Morwell versus Rain, it just presented too many switch-ins in my mind. And no electric immunity with a Skarmory, a Suicune, and a Mega Pinsir on his team versus Electivire. I was worried going into the game for Ethan, and when he lost Meloetta early, and unfortunately for him, wasted the Z dig, it was just getting worse. Now, he gets a Spike Layer up versus Nidoking, and I think this was actually one of the turning points. You know, he's got Skarmory in versus Nidoking. I think he was at full health. He could take any hit and do whatever he wanted. He knows he needs to get rid of Toxic Spikes for the unmegaed Mega Pinsir. He goes for Spikes. I really think he should have Whirlwinded, because he needs to have Nidoking off the field to spin away those T-Spikes. That was his opportunity. That was his chance. To get Nidoking out of there and then spin away later. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to take that chance. He salvaged differential well with Torkoal, but by the end of it, as we mentioned earlier, he just didn't have anything for Electivire. Meloetta went down too early. He does take the close 1-0 loss. A well-played game in some places, with some really nice heat sets, but just unable to get around that Electivire.
Yeah, he should have. He actually talked about how he wanted to bring Mudsdale instead of Mawile, but he didn't think Mawile would be useful in any of his other matches, and he has to bring the viewer pick once, which I think was honestly just a horrible idea. If you think you have to have something else instead of the viewer pick, if you got to bring the viewer pick week 8, bring it week 8. That's for anyone who hasn't brought their viewer pick yet. Just that may be what you have to do. But if you think you need a mod, because definitely Mudsdale would have helped a lot since Electivire, as you said, put on more pressure than anything, even though Nidoking got more of the kills.
Yeah.
So that's just a bit of advice from me to everyone else. If you haven't brought your viewer pick yet, don't specifically look at all of your future matchups and say, this is the one I have to bring it. Bring it when you think it'll work, or just make yourself suffer week 8.
Yeah, that's pretty much good advice on that one. And, you know, it's a lesson hard learned, but it's a lesson learned nonetheless. So, with that, to move on to number 3 on the list, and that is going to be Paul. Paulie Mac taking his first loss of the season, a pretty debilitating 4-0 loss at that. Some of the sets, here's your bulk up set, Chaos. Bulk up Floatzel.
That was it! It was Floatzel!
Yeah.
Wait a minute, what
Which
match
is
are
cool.
you talking about right now?
Paul versus Jim.
Did I watch that match?
I imagine so.
I had to have. Wait a minute.
I thought so.
Is that one of the matches I watched?
I would think so.
Yeah. I did watch. Yeah, because this is where Latias got the never-ending nightmare. Maybe was Floatzel what I was thinking of? How did I mix up a Floatzel and a Miltank?
I mean, they're basically the same thing. They both get Surf.
You know what? Finish your work.
So yeah, Bulk Up Floatzel was a cool set. I liked it. Most of the other things on Paul's team were fairly standard, and he guessed Jim's team for 5 out of 6, which was nice. And it started so well. Well avoiding the setup on Rabombi, Mantine, as we say, just doing Mantine things. Then that big boy play from Jim, Rachi taken down to 9 HP very early. And I think that started to play on Paul's mind. For the first time this season, we really saw Paul on the ropes. And we saw him flustered. We haven't seen this so far. And it was unfortunate. I think the Rachi hit really hit him hard. Like, it didn't just hit Rachi hard, it hit Paul hard mentally. And it was a mental blow that he never really got over. He was on the ropes. He was playing Floatzel really recklessly versus a T-bolting Nidoqueen that he knew he couldn't take out. He takes out Gyarados, but he gets parried into the bargain. And he was constantly over-predicting with Hydreigon. He was flustered. He seemed out of sorts. Now, it happens to us all. We all have off days, and I think this is just one of Paul's off days. Because we know that he's a better battler than this. He seemed to get really quite badly affected early on and never quite recovered. And that led to some kind of poor decision-making on his part. He takes a heavy loss, but he's still up there mixing and mingling with the best of the rest. So hopefully for him, this will just be a temporary setback.
Yeah, man, it's like, that's the kind of battle that you can lose, because Jim did really well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have to say, we don't take anything away from Jim on that one. He did play it very well.
Yeah, it was also Paul's birthday, so making Paul suffer and cry on his birthday is just, well, it wasn't his birthday when he lost, but when he uploaded it was his birthday. So anytime you can make someone feel like garbage on their birthday is good in my books. But
You're an evil man.
Yeah, dude, bad cop, owning it. Let's go to number 2, which is Kyle, who was dethroned Paul on, the month of his birth. And
yeah, absolutely.
Go over that.
Kyle taking a 1-0 win over Jack. Now, just looking, we've spoken about Kyle's EVing before, and in this case, just with his Crobat, it was just like this stat gets EVs, and this stat gets EVs, and all the stats get EVs. Everything gets EVs. Yeah, Crobat just extremely well built for utility hit taking. What have you got? I think, yeah, it was Reuniclus. Mono, unstab, hidden power, fire. Not the first time he's done this.
Wait, what?
This is twice in 3 weeks that Kyle has brought a set with mono, unstab, hidden power.
Why didn't he just draft Unknown?
I think he needed acid armor, which sadly Unknown doesn't get.
That's quitter talk.
Reuniclus is gross, so is Rest Curse Talk Licky Licky. That's disgusting, Kyle, and I love you for it.
I had to mute myself to throw up. Could you, like, get through this a little bit faster?
He has Spicy Scarf Braylon with Sludge Bomb. That's cool. Early on, we see him...
Wait a minute, pause again. I know that I just said we need to hurry up,
yes.
but Breloom is the greatest that ever was. That's all I have to say. You can continue.
It had Sludge Bomb for the Tapu Bulu. Gets rocks up early, does Kyle. Ferrothorn was kind of just sitting there being a dick. And as we talked about earlier, so many double switches in this game, but I think, really, it was Kyle that gets more information from them. Like, he starts to learn what his opponent's Breloom switches are. He starts to learn it's Tapu Bulu. He's going to feel more confident going for Sludge Bomb on the switches from then on. It was just weird to see, you know, on his team, he's got a Crobat, a Megazord X, a Reuniclus, and a Licky Licky. All of these things that can be bulky and take hits. But for, like, the first half of the battle, it was just Breloom and Ferrothorn doing all the work. It was his double Grass Core. And very importantly, Kyle was not allowing Zard Y to come in. He refused to let it happen. I believe at some point he showed Rock Tomb and showed he was not afraid to go for it. And it was just him not allowing Zard Y to come in. He knows Zard Y is a threat to his team. He refuses to let Jack get an opportunity, which is well played. Now, he did start miscalcing, and that caused his own Zard to go down, and things started getting hairy. It looked like it was going to be a big win for Kyle, and then it kind of went sideways towards the end, and then we get to the end game, and it was beautifully played. Kyle had a complete plan of exactly what he needed to do and exactly when he needed to do it, depending on his opponent's moveset. It played out 100% perfectly, Kyle sacking what he needed to have the chance to win with Reuniclus. And yeah, he took his chance with a bit of luck with a confused Zydoge, and he got it right. And then he got the Toxic play right on a Sizzle that was switching. Yeah, Kyle played the endgame beautifully and sort of started very strongly, hairy towards the mid and end, and then the endgame was perfect.
Good on Kyle. We are about out of time, so we got to get to number one and get it done with quick. Number one, we have Leo, the Durham Drudigans. You know, Leo is the best, always will be. He's going to win by the end of I think it's the end of April, will be the playoff matches where he defeats Kyle in a narrow, 2-0 victory. So you guys don't even have to watch the TBU anymore. I just spoiled everything for you. He defeated Sheer Force. It was a really good match. Sheer Force doesn't understand how Mega Bracelets work, so that kind of didn't matter at all because Necrozma had a Z Crystal. He brought Ice Punch on the Registeel, which was really good. He brought a lot of ice coverage, maybe even a little too much for the Garchomp, but, you know, Garchomp's just that kind of threat. Was not fully prepared for the Galvantula, I feel, because it put in a lot of work. Okay, Shroom, you can take over now. I've gone too long.
He was prepared for a certain aspect of Galvantula. You know, he specifically didn't bring any form of hazard removal, even against webs. What he did instead was bring Trick Room Necrozma, which is a really nice decision. He had just well-built sets all over the place. Seismitoad was cool. Fire Blast, Toxic Pursuit, Tauros, very enjoyable. Much with Kyle, lots of early doubles. He avoids the Unnerve Giga Drain on Rindo Seismitoad very nicely indeed. Very good 4-4. Not everyone's going to think of that. It's easy to forget that Galvantula gets Unnerve. So that could have gone badly for him, but he got it right. Great read with Shaman. He scouts Choice Victini with Protect and then stays in after a V-Crit has just happened, knowing the switch is going, and that keeps the momentum with him. Now, it was looking bad at 4-2, but then the Necrozma plays. He scouted Garchomp for the Z move really well, sacking Toad in the process, and then he can bring Necrozma back in for Trick Room with the webs up, and that allows Tauros to finish off the endgame with some nice plays. Yeah. Leo, he seems to do this. He goes down in score, and then he just has the perfect response to it. even when his back's against the wall. So yeah, another perfectly well executed plan from Leo at the end game. Well done indeed.
Yeah, it was very well done, and we somehow made it to like 45 minutes.
Go us! We're doing this. We're awesome at this.
We're the best. It works a lot when I just don't talk. Anyways, thank you, thank you guys for watching this week's TBU PR. I'm actually on spring break, so next week I'll actually know about more than 3 of the battles.
Nice.
Shroom, do you have anything to say before I like fully close this out?
Not particularly. Just to echo Chaos and saying thank you all for watching. Keep your eyes peeled on the Battle Union channel for more analytical videos, and of course the battles for week 4 should be coming up in the not too distant future, so keep your eyes out for them as well.
It's going to be amazing. Can't wait for it.
Yes.
But yeah, so make sure to check out everyone in the description. All the coaches are down there. I believe Shroom and myself are down there as well and whatnot. So thanks for watching, and we hope to see you for the week 4 power rankings, assuming that, you know, everything doesn't go to absolute crap and explode. But you never know with the TBU. Time will tell.
Anything can happen.
Anything. Farewell.
Laters.